Hi, everyone. This is our usual Tuesday 3-minute therapy podcast. I'm Dr. Michael Edelstein. I'm a clinical psychologist. I have a book called 3-Minute Therapy, and I have over 40 years experience helping individuals and couples, usually adults and adolescents, with their emotional and behavioral problems, including anxiety, depression, anger, procrastination, and addictions. I'm grounded in a theoretical orientation called REBT, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. And what that means essentially is that our emotions come from our thinking. So if you don't like what you're feeling, rather than trying to change your feeling directly, look at the thinking that's causing it. And the thinking that's causing disturbed feelings are usually demands. Must, shoulds, supposed tos, have tos, demands we put on ourselves, others, and situations. I must do well and get approval. You must treat me well. Life must go well. So when you have those demands, you create emotional problems for yourself. And when you have emotional problems, you have those demands. REBT, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, was devised by Albert Ellis in the 1950s. And that created a revolution in psychotherapy from the Freudian-oriented psychoanalytic model that our emotions and problems as adults come from our childhood, to the more generally accepted idea that our emotions and problems as adults come from our thinking, not from our childhood. So Albert Ellis did a great job, and speaking of great jobs, Chris Rossini, our tech engineer, also does a great job. Today's subject is REBT as eclectic. Now, eclectic means it derives from a broad scope of ideas or sources. REBT is comprehensive. It uses multiple methods to help you with emotional problems. Your thinking, your behavior, and your emoting, and your imaging. So now every therapist starts with a theory. Most basically, their theory, now some therapists claim they don't have a theory, but they do. Their theory is the client talks, the therapist listens, you pay the therapist. That's their therapy. But REBT has a more evolved and comprehensive theory that our disturbed emotions come from our thinking. And I remind my clients of that many times because they often forget and think it's situations that cause their emotions. For example, you're fired from your job, you feel depressed. It's not being fired that causes your disturbance, but it's your thinking about it. I must not be fired. I must have a job. I'm a loser if I'm unemployed. So it's that kind of thinking that causes emotional problems. So to overcome that thinking, we teach our clients to question, challenge, and contradict that thinking. And show themselves that there are no musts, there are no shoulds. Musts and shoulds are fiction. There's nothing that you must do, except maybe act imperfectly because you're an imperfect human. And then also on the behavioral area, we recommend risk-taking and shame-attacking. Risk-taking means risk failing. So if you want to get a job, go to many interviews and risk being rejected. Or if you'd like to meet a suitable partner and you're single, Take risks. Talk to people who look interesting or attractive to you. Risk rejection. And show yourself all the time if you are rejected. This does not mean you're a loser or a bad person. Again, you're just an imperfect human who acts imperfectly. Albert Ellis devised his famous shame attacking exercises, where you do things that you're likely to feel ashamed about and show yourself that the roof doesn't cave in. So, for example, go to the second floor on Nordstrom's and call out the time. It's now 10 after 10 and all is well. Or when you're on BART or the subway, call out, stand up and call out the stops. Marketplace coming up, and show yourself that you don't wind up in jail, you don't get arrested because you are saying things unusual that people might think poorly of you for. So you could also use imagery to work on your emotional problems. For example, picture yourself. One of the common problems people have is they're anxious about being anxious when they're public speaking. So picture yourself giving a talk in front of a large audience. Picture yourself feeling anxious. And while you're doing that, tell yourself, this is unfortunate, I'm anxious. It's not the end of the world. I'm not going to die from being anxious. I can stand it even though I don't like it. So those are the main ways you can work on some of your problems. Oh, another final note is the more you question, challenge, and contradict your demands, the more passion you use, the more convincing and persuasive you'll be to yourself. And an acronym you can use is MVP. In baseball, it's most valuable player, but in REBT, it's meaningfulness, vigor, and persistence. Only contradict your irrational thinking in a meaningful way, not in a way that you know is right, but you don't really connect with. Use vigor, and that is be passionate about your rational beliefs when you reinforce them. And finally, persistence, which means be persistent. It's not a silver bullet or an overnight cure. Changing your thinking takes practice, 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 and persistence. Those are some of the things to work on. Okay, well, I hope you found this podcast valuable, and tell us below how you liked it. Give us a thumbs up. Tell us below any questions you have or disagreements. Tell us below if you'd like to volunteer. We'd like to have guests to volunteer. We have one coming up soon, and to discuss your problem. And I will cure you. And if my partner, Mick Berry, is with us, we will cure you. Donate to Patreon to help support these 3-Minute Therapy podcasts. Subscribe to the 3-Minute Therapy podcasts to stay on the rational side of life.